Hey MVPs, Rico Knows here. Going to talk to you guys about the results from UFC 314. If you aren't aware, this video is always going to be free. You can always go back to these and look and see what I had to say about a fighter in the past. It'll help you in the future, hopefully. But here we are. We're going to talk about the results of 314 down in Miami. Alexander Volkanovski wins back the belt and he beats Diego Lopez. But I'm going to go through all of the fights and talk to you about what we saw and what we initially thought, and then how they performed in the cage. One thing I did want to talk about are results. We did really well last night if you were a smart gambler, right? So you're going to see some red in here. There are 6 misses. Don't get it twisted. 6 of those are 4 of the 6 are straight up value bets. And I think 2 of those were EVs, but it doesn't even matter. The value bets are at 40%, so seeing 4 misses there is not surprising. It's not alarming by any means. What's really encouraging is we hit our 1 lock for the night, which I thought Nora Cornell was the lock that you should have been betting full units on and really believed in. And then we see all the other leans that we got correct. We've improved to 65% on leans. It's very impressive. If you didn't know, last year we were at 66% on the whole season. So getting back on track is pretty important because we did have a rough couple of weeks here where I was just getting things wrong, and then we start getting it right. So you just have to hang in there, play the law of averages, and really believe in yourself, but also pick and choose your spots where you think you have the advantage financially or whatever it is, because there were some spots where you were betting straight across and you had really good odds to make some really good money. Shout out to Patty Pimblett. So you just don't parlay too much, man. You shouldn't be parlaying anything. I hate parlays with more than 2 or 3 legs to begin with. As a matter of fact, with this entire card, I didn't give you a single parlay because I didn't feel like anything was parlayable. That's just how I felt about it. Just keeping it real. But let's talk about these fights and I'll give you guys the results here. So let's go. So Nora Cornell, I told you she's a dynamic striker, and I felt like she could never lose in this fight. Really, it had to do with Haley Cowan not having fought in 2 years. Yes, she's big and strong, former college gymnast and all this stuff, but she doesn't really know how to fight. I think what she is an athletic person who's trying to fight. And there's a huge difference there, right? So when you're athletic and you're kind of strong, you go out there and try to muscle everything. What I saw from Haley was nothing surprising. She just doesn't know what she's doing. The best thing she can do in a fight is push somebody up against the cage, get in a 50-50 clinch, and pin him there and hold him there. She doesn't know how to get a takedown. She has no elite jiu-jitsu, and she's not a vicious striker. She's still female. She's still a woman. She doesn't know how to throw elbows or punches or anything. On the other side, Nora Cornell, dynamic striker, but what did she do in this fight? I saw low fight IQ, and I'll never forget that. And I need you guys to remember that the next time we see her in the cage. The way you get in trouble in this fight is if you crash in and you get rid of your striking advantage. And she did that in both rounds. Now, it just so happens that Haley is terrible, and she found a way to win. But Nora Cornhole does not need to be trying to show us that she's a grappler or a jiu-jitsu practitioner by any means. She gave up a dominant body position to go for an armbar, which is silly. She ended up on bottom because she crashed in a clinch when she didn't need to. She is superior at striking and didn't show it. A lot of what she did was got her in trouble. I thought she lost the first round on everybody's scorecard. So you see the 4 minutes of control time here. So this girl, yeah, she got it done. I knew she wouldn't lose because she was fighting a hapless person. But as she goes up and tries to fight better fighters, she's just going to get outgunned and outskilled. And what's crazy is when you listen to her coaches talk to her, she got no advice on how to do better. Like, nobody talked to her about what she did wrong in the first round and why she lost. All they said was defend against the takedowns. You shouldn't be in a clinch with somebody that strong or bigger and stronger than you. You shouldn't even be in the clinch. Forget about defend against the takedown. Why are we close enough to get taken down? Stay out of striking range, or like I used to talk to my fighters, stay out of projectile range, striking range, and then grappling range. Stay out of grappling range. Stay at striking. Stay further away and use a gun, right? I don't know what to tell you, Nora, but I was not impressed with what you were doing at all. Shout out to her. She won. It was what we wanted to happen. Next, Marco Tulio against Tresean Gore. The card, it might have confused some of you guys. Shout out to the MVPs who don't understand the coloring system here. This is EV. I only put it here because Tresean Gore shouldn't be a plus 300. I thought he had a fighting chance. And there were a couple times where he did clip Tulio and knock him down with punches on the chin or whatever, but it doesn't really mean anything when you say a guy shouldn't be this many odds versus what you think is going to actually happen. Remember, purple, 40%. Black, 65%. Well, which bet should I take, Rico? Anytime it's black, it's 65%. Anytime it's green, it's 67%. So you just got to understand what that means when I write it in here. The fact that it's black over here means this is where you should be. and the odds are pretty good. Shout out to the MVPs who took it and understand the chart, understand what we're doing. But yeah, Marco Trulio, what I really liked in this fight was everything. I liked the way he paced himself. I liked the way he picked and choose his spots with striking. He was able to throw everything. He was doing kicks, he was doing punches, but it's high-low, head body. It's just a number of things he was doing well. Now, what do I not like about Marco Tulio? Spinning heel kicks. The amount of energy it takes to do those and accuracy and land them. He just kept doing them over and over and over. I didn't like that. That was terrible. But eventually, too much pressure, beating up this man. Tresean Gore did not move his head once. He can get jabbed all day. He is a little tough, though. If you think about it, Tulio said he broke his hand, so we might not say Tulio for a while. But for Tresean Gore to get that beat up and still be standing, I think they had to save him. They just had to say enough's enough because he was just too tough for his own good, which is a little crazy. He did not have the athletic advantage. And you're not used to seeing that from somebody like Tresean Gore, who looks like a dynamic athlete, does explosive movements and stuff, but he doesn't punch right. His wrist doesn't turn over correctly, even if he does land flush. I said it during the live stream. I said, guys, I don't think he's going to knock him out, even if he lands it. And then a couple times he would clip him. He would land the punch he was supposed to land, and he'd clip Marco, and Marco would fall, buckle, do the stanky leg, and then just get right back to it. So that's a tough pill to swallow. At the end of the day, Tulio got it done. Tresean Gore, very limited on his ceiling, but I understand that he can fight, and he's going to be game to fight. Tulio's going to start fighting some real guys, though. Get a little nervous about that. Whoever he fights next, he's going to keep moving up. It's going to be a little more difficult. Speaking of difficult, it's difficult to ever believe in Mitch Raposo. All the guys on the internet, all you free cappers out there, they all talked. I watched all their videos. I watch all your videos, you losers, on YouTube. And I watch them just to hear what you guys have to say about people's Instagrams, because I don't go to Instagram. But anyways, Mitch Raposo is not who you think he is. He's not a good fighter. He's terrible, actually. He landed 13 strikes in 15 minutes. He landed less than one strike a minute in this fight. And it's going to be like this because he doesn't know how to fight. This is a glorified wrestler who's decided to start MMA and doesn't know when to punch or when to do damage. Doesn't know how to score points. Doesn't know how to do anything. You have 19 takedown attempts and land 6 of them with 4 minutes control time. That is absolutely terrible. The average amount of control time for every takedown was less than a minute. That is terrible. Get one takedown, hold him down the rest of the fight. You'll win fights. But the man doesn't know how to punch. He doesn't know how to do anything. That is a terrible fighter, Mitch Raposo. And I told you guys, I described him in the fight against Silva a while ago. I looked at Mitch Raposo on the regional scene, and I said, oh, this guy's not a dynamic person. He's just not dynamic. His combos are a 1-2. His combos are a jab cross. He's not dynamic. And that's the only way I can describe him. It's just not somebody who should be out there. It's like a wide receiver who runs a 5-flat 40. It's like, that's cool and all. You might show people that you can catch the ball, and you might run great routes in air, but you run a 5-flat 40. You can't get open. You can't do anything to take the top off the defense. You're not impressing me in any way, shape, or form. You're not going to win us a game with a 5-flat 40. That's Mitch Raposo. Mitch doesn't do anything good. I don't think he's a good fighter. He's not UFC caliber, and anybody who tells you he is, it's just because the announcers train with him and have a friend that trains with him and they know him. Seriously, if you listen to the announcers, I don't care who it is, you listen to those announcers, they will gas up Mitch Raposo like he's the second coming to somebody great. It's crazy. And anybody giving him a round is fucking nuts. Like, that kid is terrible. Okay, that being said, somebody gave him the fight. Somebody gave him the fight. He landed 13 strikes, and one of the judges gave him the fight. His name is Chris Lee. He's embarrassing. This is absurd. You got to be careful. If you guys can look up judges for fights, you can start looking them up and start trying to figure out when Chris Lee's on the card. And if you think that fight's going to the distance, is going to a decision, do not bet on that fight. Chris Lee will rob you. Him and Sal D'Amato are the worst 2 refs for the last 5 years. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not joking. It's fucking insane. Sumandarji is a good striker. He's very tall for the weight class. He's kind of crafty at striking. So what is the problem with Sumandarji? He's a terrible grappler. Terrible. He can be tapped out at any moment. He can be taken down like nothing. His legs are just skinny. He's worthless. I was not impressed with Sumandarji in this fight. I still think he won, but this is a low-level fight. And Sumadar is a low-level fighter. Shout out to Team Alpha Male. This is your guy. This is one of your pupils. I did not see what I wanted to see from Sumadar, which was a vicious striker. Being, cutting off the cage. Having that he was just scared. He was fighting scared. He's afraid of a takedown. 19 takedown shots? Yeah, man, you got to make him pay for it. And I didn't see it. And I thought fundamentally he was pretty terrible at takedown defense. He was able to get back up, but he was not defending against these takedowns at all. His inability to sprawl is appalling. Two very bad fighters. If we see them, we're fading them. Just straight up. It depends who they're fighting, whatever. Speaking of bad fighters, Cedric Dumas, he thought it was a poor stoppage. He thought it was an early stoppage. Cedric Dumas, ever since he got accused of domestic violence and striking a woman, I've never been a fan of Cedric Dumas. I'll never support that guy. I think he's a terrible fighter. Absolutely terrible. He landed 3 strikes in this fight. 3. It was gross. Mikel does what Mikel does. Walked him down, beat him up. It's probably the easiest fight on the fight card, and I apologize for not making it a lock. I probably should have. You guys would have had something to parlay. But we picked Mikel. It's not like I didn't pick him. It's just Cedric Dumas is a terrible fighter. Straight up. That dude's not done belonging to the UFC either. They need to cut guys like this. Nobody wants to see this shit. It's bad. And then he just complains about his defense. He was just curled up in a ball. He got no gangster to him, bro. All them tattoos, that's the hardest thing he's ever done, is sat in a chair and let a guy draw on him. That's the most gangster thing he's ever done. He said, yo, man, draw on me. Yeah, I could take that. His tolerance for pain was very high that day. Fucking nerd. Next fight, Darren Elkins versus Julian Erosa. If you ever want to miss, pick Darren Elkins in a fight against Julian Erosa. Oh my God, he made Julian Erosa look like he's in the prime of his life. I don't know if there was a deal in the locker room backstage or what, but this fight was fought in slow motion. I'm not joking. You can go click watch there on ESPN Plus and go watch it if you have ESPN Plus. It was fought in slow motion on both sides. I learned nothing in this fight other than Darren Elkins needs to retire. He's an elderly man. In the fight game, he's over 40. He's elderly as fuck. And God, he looked terrible. He was walking around like a drunk. From the first strike, he was just hobbling around. He looked ridiculous. And Julian Erosa, while just walking him down, striking him and beating him the hell up, that's cool and everything. But even Julian was taken down a couple times. And I thought, what is this? Like, how did you get taken down by that? At least, what is it? Well, they say only 1 takedown? No, there was way more than 1 takedown. Who's keeping the stats here? There had to be 3 takedowns in this fight where it was just slow. Like, I'm going to grab your ankle, move up to your knee. These weren't single leg takedowns, double leg. There was nothing you've ever described in your life. Like, I teach takedowns for years. There's nothing. It was terrible. It was embarrassing. And Darren Elkins was moving like, it reminded me of those fights on YouTube when somebody's drunk in a bar. That's what it reminded me of. Oh, it's bad. The damage has been damaged. That man has real problems. I believe that man's going to start BJ penning things and start telling us how his mother and brother are imposters and abducted by the government or whatever. Julian Erosa is still a grappling monster, still a good fighter. We'll see who he fights next. He's on a 4-fight winning streak, something like that. It's going to be tough to take Julian Erosa. We'll look for the odds. We'll see what they are. But he's going to be fighting some pretty good fighters if he keeps winning like this. So, shout out to him. Speaking of winning like this, Chase Hooper beats Jim Miller. We knew this shouldn't be a minus 1,000 or 1,100 or whatever it was on the fight cards. There's just no way that Chase Hooper was going to finish Jim Miller. I guess you should have probably looked in there to say, go the distance. You would have got paid pretty good. But Jim Miller's a decent practitioner at jiu-jitsu, and he's not going to get tapped. Jim Miller brings nothing to the fight game. He can't strike anymore. That's an old man. He's elderly as fuck. And Chase Hooper just keeps winning. He's going to have to face some better fighters. He's fought Clay Guida, 43-year-old carpenter. He fought Jim Miller, 41-year-old whatever. He's fighting 40-something-year-olds. He needs to fight somebody else, bro. He's 26 years old. Give him somebody who can actually fight back. And it's going to be a problem if you do, because Chase Hooper's striking looks a little heavy. He looks good. You know, he feels like the American version of Paddy Pimblett. He really does. I'm not saying he's as dominant. I'm not saying he's as proven. But the kid is just kind of putting it together. He's got a big body for the division. He's got great grappling. It just kind of reminds me of the way Paddy looked last night. just gonna win and do his thing. Now, he's not as vicious. This kid is nice, bro. This kid will open the door for you at a store and shit. But I didn't like what he said after the fight. He said, my kids and my wife are fed or something like that. Like, whatever, dude. We don't give a shit what your motivations are for fighting. Like, just go win. I don't need to hear about your motivations for fighting. Because then what if you lose your wife and kid? What if she's cheating on you? Now you can't fight anymore? Now you're not fighting for them? It's just dumb. I don't care about that kind of shit, personally. I just want to see you fight in the cage. But yeah, he won 29-28 on 2 cards and then 30-27 on a card. The 30-27, that's outrageous. Jim Miller obviously won a round. It was pretty evident, obviously, to 2 of the judges and myself. But Chase Hooper's a good fighter. Good striker, looking better at striking, and he's a great grappler. I think he's just the nerd doing stupid shit. We're trying to do a crotch splitter. We're trying to do a dick splitter, bro. What are we doing? That's nuts. If he's flexible, it doesn't do anything for me. So, anyways, Chase Hooper, ho-hum. And the biggest fight of the night for us, we should have been on this heavy. You know, when I don't give you guys a bunch of parlays and stuff, there's a prop right here, and I put it in black. I did not tell you it was a value bet. Let me make that very clear. You guys got to learn how to read the color scheme. If I put a prop in black, it's right 63% of the time. If it's purple, which most pluses are purple, they're 34. Huge discrepancy here. 60 to 34. 63 to 34. This is black. That means it's going to hit like a motherfucker. And it's a plus 210. That means it's going to hit like a motherfucker. And you guys go out there and ignore it. Some of you did. I don't know what to tell you. Verna, Crazy Eyes, Jandaroba against Jan. This was just rock, paper, scissors. There was nothing else to it. Jan's still an elite striker. Jan is still a very good fighter. I would take Jan against anybody else who's not going to go out there and outmuscle you. Now, Verna, winning this 30-27 is cool and everything, but I guess the only person left to fight is, the champ. And I don't think Verna is a very good matchup for the champ. I don't think she's athletic enough or strong enough for these takedowns. Now, Verna ended up with 3 takedowns. She tried 11 times. She got 3 of them. And you see the control time. 3 minutes of control time per takedown. 3 minutes and 20 seconds of control time per takedown. That's impressive. That's great. That's going to win you every single round. That's going to go 30-27. Verna, by points. This is the ugliest woman alive. It doesn't matter. She's won us a ton of money. So shout out to the MVPs. Shout out to us. Nothing went, this was the height of our night. Nothing was surprising here. We understood what we were getting into. Shout out to me, I guess. Me. And then the biggest bullshit of the night, man. This one really pisses me off. Sean Woodson and Dan Ige. Now, the only reason it makes me upset is I actually saw the judges' scorecards. They gave both rounds, the first 2 rounds, to Dan Ige on every single scoring card. That means Sean Woodson was out here sticking and moving, and the judges did not appreciate it. They did not understand what he was doing, the way he was striking, the way he was moving. They just didn't like it. Now, the significant strikes at the end of the fight are kind of even, but that's not the case. They weren't even for a large portion of this fight. It was Dan Ige towards the end there really poured it on, and Sean Woodson was just getting pummeled, and that's why these numbers are so even. Sean Woodson, to me, was winning the fight. I thought he was maintaining his space and distance. He was very safe and not getting hit. But the problem with Sean Woodson in this particular fight was he was playing a game. And I mean this, guys. Like, I'll give you an example. We were talking about rear naked chokes yesterday. And a guy was like, hey, what happens, Rico, when somebody tucks their chin and they don't let you get underneath their chin for the rear naked choke? I'm like, well, you can just squeeze and crush their jaw. Or you can do what I do, which is just rake up on their face and reach into their eyeballs and their nose and rake it up. And you just ratchet up and you'll get underneath it. Now, you can't do that in the UFC. But you ask me how to get their chin up, I'll tell you. You just rake their face and get it up their nose. But in real life, if you're doing this, remember, I'm a hand-to-hand combat instructor in the United States Army. At least I was for 20 years. And when you teach fighting for your life, there are times we teach jiu-jitsu, we teach kickboxing, we teach striking, we teach all that. But then in every position, we talk about what could happen. And if you were to rake somebody's face, they would bite your fingers off, right? Somebody gets you in a guillotine. Like, that's cool and everything, but your head is caught here. Don't struggle with that. Just reach for your secondary weapon, whether it be your knife or your nine, and just start taking them out. Like, we talk about these fight positions from a different perspective, right? You're in the mount, and he's defending himself appropriately. Take your ACH off, your Army Combat Helmet, and you can crash down and break through all that, right? You can find a brick and go to town. Like, we talk about real-life scenarios, and I bring this up because Sean Woodson found himself fighting in the UFC like it was a sport. And that's cool. You can fight like it's a sport. And that might get you a lot of victories. You go out there and try to outpoint a guy and try to impress the judge. This is that old adage, like, fight, maintain distance and angles and all this. And then with a minute left, shoot for the takedown and you win the round. That's the strategy for years upon years. And that's pointing the system. You're not trying to beat this guy. You're not trying to impose your will or tap him out or knock him out. You're not trying to kick his ass. You're not trying to win a fight. You're just trying to score points with judges. And when your mentality is to score points with judges and not to really finish somebody, that's when you start seeing guys pull guard in jiu-jitsu tournaments. That's when you start seeing people game the sport, if you will. And that's not good enough when you're going against somebody who just wants to win. When you're going up against somebody who just wants to kick your ass. Like Dan Ige was in there saying, I got a puncher's chance to win this fight. I'm going to knock this guy out. And he did. Because he was not swinging to score points and impress judges with volume. You'll hear coaches in the corner go like, all right, get out there and just touch some leather on him, okay? Nothing too hard. Just touch him up a little bit. Those corners need to be fired because you're coaching your fighter to game the system and not win. You're not out there to dominate the individual. You're not out there to impose your will. You're not out there to get a bigger check or a bonus. You're just playing this game where, like, we need to impress 3 people in the crowd. Understand what I'm saying? You're giving them advice and guidance to impress 3 people in the crowd. Now, and then those 3 people in the crowd I'm talking about are the judges. They're just 3 random-ass people who put their pants on one leg at a time like everybody else. If that's all you're doing in this fight game, you're not doing it right. And I'm telling you this because Sean Woodson got into this cage with no intention of hurting Dan Ige. Everything he threw was soft. Everything he threw was weak. Like, he didn't do anything with bad intentions. Nothing. And so when you're in a fight and you're doing this sport thing and the other guy has bad intentions and he's not trying to impress 3 people in the crowd, he's trying to rip your head off. He's got a bone to pick and it's with you for the next 5 minutes. It's a different mentality and you're playing that grown man's game and you're going to get caught. And you're sitting over there trying to look fancy. Oh, how much time is left on the clock? You see that? Oh, and they're doing that and they're just dancing around. No, Dan Ige is here to be a professional. So I learned something about Sean Woodson yesterday, and that is he's getting bad advisement on how to win these fights. They're going into it with a little too much strategy and not enough aggression, not like enough primal aggression or instincts. And Sean Woodson, you'll see him doing his boxing, rolling of the shoulders things. But I think what fighters are going to learn from this, and especially the caliber of fighters they're going to pair up Sean Woodson with, is he's just out there to point. So all those feints and all those jabs he throws, and he fakes so much stuff. All of it is just for show. And then if it does land, you can walk right through it. Don't be afraid. He's just going to go out there to touch leather for 15 minutes. Let me check Sean Woodson's record. Let me check Sean Woodson's last 15 fights. That's what it looks like. Look at this man's fighting record here. Look at this. Decision unanimous. Split decision unanimous. Against people that aren't in the UFC. Dennis Bazooki is terrible. You get a draw. So we got a knockout, another decision, a submission, loss, and then decision. This is all on the regional scene. Do you know how you get all these decisions on the regional scene? 15 minutes in the cage time. Look, this dude is a walking decision. He's a decision merchant. He wants to be in there for 15 minutes and leave it to the judges. He's not a real fighter. He's just not. Sean Woodson is the sniper my ass, bro. 16 fights. 16 fights. 2/3 of them going to decision. Even against scrubs. Even against regional fighters who never win. Sean Woodson's just, he got the wrong come up, man. He got the wrong come up. You got to be about that shit. Can you imagine if Paddy Pimblett went out there against Michael Chandler and was just trying to outpoint him a little bit to impress judges? To win over 3 dudes in the crowd? Yeah, the wrong fucking fight game. That's why you're not up there. That's not why you're not fighting elite fighters, or you're not on the main card. That's why you're on the prelims. Sean Woodson. Shout out to Dan Ige. He came through. It is what it is. Speaking of coming through, Dominic Reyes. You know, knee-jerk reaction here is I'm a little upset because when I first saw the odds and I first saw all the assessments online and everything, I was like, man, why are people not high on Dominic Reyes? He just won 2 fights in a row, and he did it in impressive fashion, and he beat some aging guys. Like, I thought he looked well. But when I went and turned on the tape on Nikita again, like, yo, give me a memory. I haven't seen Nikita in 2 years. And I was like, yo, let me go watch it. And Nikita looks so good and so mean 2 years ago. And he's looked good for many years. Nikita's been a great fighter, top 5, top 10 fighter for many, many, many years. Here's the problem, though. We need to really, really include those layoffs. This is a 2-year layoff, and you show up, and you're not ready. You're not ready. That man, Nikita, just recklessly moved the distance. Recklessly, he had the willingness to close with the enemy, but he did it with his arms down and his hands down, and he looked ridiculous and just caught a straight left, and it was over. Dominic Reyes knocked this man out cold. Dominic Reyes is still one of the most vicious strikers you're going to run into, but I don't know who we fight next. I don't know what we're doing. Dominic Reyes says he wants one more fight in the belt or something like that. I don't know about all that, but he looked great, and he's on a 3-fight winning streak, and he's beating up a bunch of dudes who they keep giving him these old guys. Very favorable matchup, and we missed on this, though, and it sucks, but it's part of life. There's no guarantees here. Actually, we hit on the lock. The lock for this fight was not go the distance. And I told you guys very, very boldly that when I said not go the distance, I was also including Dominic Reyes' ability to win by knockout. I think one MVP wrote to me and said, Rico, I got both of them by knockout. And yeah, and he won. He just hedged his own bet. That's what he did. So shout out to him. But yeah, easy fight. Dominic Reyes looking very athletic, very crisp for the 3rd fight in a row. I think he's just having that resurgence. Yes, he still has a knockout button on his chin. There's still concerns here. And Nikita, you've been gone for 2 years. I didn't see shit from you in this fight that makes me believe in you at all. So hopefully Vegas believes in you and we go from there. Bryce Mitchell versus John Silva. There's levels to this shit. That's all there is to it. Bryce Mitchell, I just saw him. He finally posted on Twitter, and he said he wants to thank everybody for the prayers and the support and all this stuff. I don't know what that man's talking about. He said he got thousands and thousands of support, blah, 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 blah. Look, bro, he said he tried his best. Well, if your best is sleeping on the canvas, then congratulations, because that's what the fuck Bryce Mitchell was doing at the end of this fight. He was sleeping. John Silva absolutely dominated this fight. John Silva looked so much stronger and more athletic than you could imagine. And it's just one of those situations where initially I told you there's some EV here with Bryce Mitchell. He should be able to go out there and get a takedown and get control and all this stuff. Man, there was no chance in hell. John Silva hits hard. I don't like John Silva's antics in the cage. The constant high-fiving, the constant hugging and talking and pointing. But none of that really matters. Pretty athletic dude. Pretty explosive and doing it. Now, I don't think he's a world beater by any means. I think there are some limitations to John Silva, but he looked very dominant and very athletic in this fight. Period. Point blank, period. It is what it is. Bryce Mitchell, scrub status, man. There's just something about Bryce that I don't like, obviously, and it is what it is. But from a fighting perspective, not very physically strong, but they tell me he's farmer strong, and he's one-dimensional. He cannot strike. His striking is just a means to an end. His striking is just to mimic other MMA fighters. There's no threat from him on the feet. He's there to get a takedown and then out-grapple you, which is fine, but he's a one-dimensional fighter. Period. And I want to know who he's going to fight next. It's not going to go well. Yair Rodriguez against Pitbull. I told you guys, I believe in the UFC pedigree. I think that Yair Rodriguez is one of the best fighters in the world, and Pitbull is fighting in a B league. Like, that's the reality of the situation. You're over there fighting in Bellator, and you could be a superstar. You can be an all-time great, but you're past your prime, and then you get out here in the UFC, and this fight, well, 30-27, it wasn't that close. 30-27, and it was not that close. Patricio Pitbull looked terrible. He did not strike at all. 23 significant strikes in 15 minutes is insane for a guy that actually throws, but you couldn't land. You couldn't do anything. Nope, Yair Rodriguez had kicks for days, dominating everywhere. He made Yair look like a world-class ass kicker, and he is. But he made him look amazing. So the odds were minus 160. I think we got him at 190, but it is what it is. Easiest fight of the night for me. I had no sweat watching that shit. I was excited, loved it. Yair looked like a beast, and Patricio Pitbull looked terrible. Absolutely terrible. He looked like an old guy who has no acumen or ability to fight. I saw a guy he's probably a jiu-jitsu nerd pretending to be a striker. Now, I know he can strike, at least back in the day. I got it. But he's 5'5", man. He can't get in there and close the distance. He was very gun-shy. He felt those kicks. He felt those strikes. He did not want to close the distance, and it got real ugly real fast. It did. Now, Patricio did have an advantage in grappling over Yair, but I don't know what we're doing there. Now, that I'm saying all this, please remember this. Yair Rodriguez wants to fight Volkanovski next. He wants to fight some other guys. Oh, they're going to be no-bet fights. You cannot do this. He's going to be fighting the elite fighters, and I don't know where you want to go with it. I just don't. It's going to be very difficult at the top like that. This was the easiest fight he's going to have in years. He's not going to get another scrub like this. It's just not going to happen. At his age, where he is in the rankings, he's only going to fight the best people in the world, and it's going to be very difficult to be a 500 fighter against those guys. That's just the nature of the profession, so it is what it is. Paddy Pimblett, I told you guys Paddy was beating Michael Chandler. Love Michael Chandler. Can't fight 5 rounds. That's absurd. And Paddy, I told you he was going to have to just survive a first-round onslaught. He didn't have to survive shit, man. He's bigger, stronger, faster, better, everything. Everything you want to hear, Paddy Pimblett was him. It's impressive. I don't know who beats Paddy. I don't. I love the way he looked, man. And Michael Chandler should have left the gloves in the cage. I know he wants another big paycheck. He makes a lot of money per fight, right? Probably made over $1 million. They give him all kinds of cuts of the pay-per-view and the points and all this shit. Michael Chandler makes a ton of money. He don't do anything. That Dan Hooker knockout has carried him far too long. The kick to Tony Ferguson doesn't matter. Everybody can beat Tony Ferguson. Ask Paddy Pimblett. You cannot. Michael Chandler is not this caliber of fighter. He is Pitbull. Michael Chandler is Pitbull down here. Another Bellator guy who came over and just doesn't really have it. Now, he's very entertaining, incredible on the mic, great spokesperson. I love Michael Chandler, my favorite UFC fighter. That does not mean I think he's going to win every fight. When I say somebody's my favorite, it's just the most enjoyable to watch because I know he's going to go out on his sword. I know he's going to go out there and do it. But when at the end of this fight, Michael Chandler's face looked like ground beef, bro. Like bloody, cheap ground beef. Like the worst type of ground beef. He looked terrible. And the only thing worse than Michael Chandler's face was his performance in this fight. 20 significant strikes is not a Michael Chandler fight. Yes, he got a takedown at some point early on in round 1. It didn't really matter. Paddy just stayed calm, did what he did. Paddy's too big, too dominant, and he's getting in shape. And I told you, you get to 30, now you got real muscles. Now you got real muscles. Paddy's got twin daughters. Michael Chandler don't even got a kid, bro. He adopted some kid that he felt sorry for, and he gives him headphones everywhere he goes. I'm just letting you know, Paddy Pimblett is him, and Michael Chandler is just going to keep losing. This is nuts. Michael Chandler has lost, I think, 5 of his last 6 or something crazy, and they're going to keep giving him big fights. Talk about him fighting Conor McGregor. He should probably fight somebody who hasn't fought in a while. Yeah, Conor McGregor sounds about right, but he cannot fight Paddy Pimblett. He doesn't even belong in the same octagon with him. They're light years away from each other. So shout out to the MVPs who believed in it. I told you guys, take it straight across. Paddy Pimblett, there's no way this goes the distance, by the way. I said we're just not going to get there. Michael Chandler does not have cardio for 5 rounds. Oh, but Rico, you got 5 rounds with Charles Oliveira. I told you, that's all bullshit. Paddy Pimblett is not going to just coast in there and chill and let this man ride on his back or let this man carry him to the center of the octagon and slam him on his back. All that bullshit he was doing. Michael Chandler, you're getting old. You cannot get old and slow. This is not the fight. The fight game is not forgiving in this guy. What is it? Time is undefeated. Father Time is undefeated. Anyways, shout out to Alexander Volkanovski winning the title. Part of this sucks. I've never really believed in Diego Lopez. You guys know this. I've faded Diego Lopez every single fight that he's been in. I've been wrong every single time. Every single time Diego Lopez fights, I just go, I don't like him. I don't like the way he throws one of his punches, and it's his right cross. It doesn't turn his wrist over. It kind of lands like he's whack-a-moling or knocking on door. It's almost like a clubbing right cross. So I don't like certain things he does in that regard. His tick on his throat bugs me. There's just a lot of things about Diego Lopez I don't like, but he manages to win, and he does well. Alexander Volkanovski beat the crap out of him for 4 out of the 5 rounds. Very dominant by Alexander Volkanovski. Resurgence, in shape. His jab was landing everywhere. Diego Lopez, no head movement. Did not avoid the jab, but Diego Lopez still throws and bangs with the best of them. So I wonder who he's going to fight next. Diego is, and we might get very favorable odds on that. But Alexander Volkanovski looked impressive. Just quick, dynamic, athletic. He looked young. He looked younger than his 36 years of age, and it was impressive to see what he did. One thing I want to say about this fight, though, is the judges' scorecards were insane. If you looked at the judges' scorecards, 2 of the worst judges were on this, was Sal D'Amato and Chris Lee. And Chris Lee and Sal D'Amato both had it 49-46. Not saying that's wrong. What's crazy is Diego Lopez won the 4th round. If you watch this fight, hands down, Diego Lopez dominated the 4th round on every single metric, on every single sports card, on everything, except Sal D'Amato gave it the 4th round to Alexander Volkanovski. And if you're looking at the round by round judging, the reason Sal D'Amato did that is because he's not judging the round. He was judging the entirety of the fight, and he was dictating it by the round results. And that's what I noticed. So if you aren't aware, the 2nd round, Diego Lopez knocks down Alexander Volkanovski at the end of the 2nd round. But Alexander knocked him down earlier in the 2nd round. Sal D'Amato gave that 2nd round to Diego Lopez. And Sal D'Amato knows that if he gives the 4th round, which he deserved, to Diego Lopez, we're 2-2 going into the final round. We're 2-2 going into the final round. And Sal D'Amato does not want that to happen. So he goes and gives the 4th round to Alexander Volkanovski, essentially ensuring he wins the fight. Absolutely absurd to do that. Shout out to, I forgot the guy who was on this one, the 48-47. I forgot his name. I apologize. I wrote about it on Twitter. But he got it right. He had it 2-2 going into the final, and then Volkanovski wins the 5th round without a doubt, and Volkanovski wins the fight, which I have no problem with. It's just when I see guys doing this 49-46, this one was Chris Lee. He did not give Diego Lopez the 2nd round. More power to you. If you didn't give him the 2nd round, that's fine. It's argumentative. It's subjective. But to not give him the 4th round is almost criminal. And we run into this all the time. Just be aware of these judges' agendas and their inconsistency or consistency, right? They're consistently bad. But it's just a tough one. It's a tough pill to swallow when you start studying judges and results, which is what I do, right? For a living, I got to get this right, so I got to go and pay attention to certain things a little deeper than just watching the fighters. But shout out to Volkanovski. Looked like a great fighter. He was jabbing hard, wrestling, moving, some really good aggression, and I thought he showed great durability. After being knocked out twice in the last 2 fights, he was able to take some strikes from Diego Lopez, and even when they landed simultaneously, one guy was landing harder than the other, and that was Alexander. He came in, and a lot of your durability can be dictated by your fitness level. I thought Alexander Volkanovski looked great. Seriously, he had great fitness level, and he was striking very hard. Diego Lopez is a gangster. He wants to scrap and all that stuff, but he didn't go hard enough. I thought he conserved energy in the 1st round, instantly losing the 1st round. He was afraid, right? Have you ever gone on a long run? If you've ever gone on a, let's say you train and you only do 5Ks, and then somebody says, hey, you got to run a 10K. You might just pace yourself for the first couple of miles and then get into your rhythm for that 10K and be like, okay, I can make it now. Or you're going to find yourself walking somewhere, and walking in the MMA cage, you're dead, right? So it's just like one of those things. Or maybe if I told you to swim across this lake, I don't know, you might swim very slow and controlled and not be freestyle pumping it the whole way, right? You just can't do that. But you know you can swim across a pool just fine. I think Diego Lopez, he looked at this fight, 5 rounds, and he treated it like he was swimming across the English Channel, and he was pacing himself the whole time. He was just afraid all day long. So it is what it is. Hope you guys learned something about the fighters. Well, we obviously learn every single fight card. You just get better, keep refining your assessment and what you're doing. Congratulations to the MVPs that won. Shout out to you guys on the Discord server. I checked the wins channel. Only a couple guys posted, but I know that in the chat we had a lot of posts throughout the night. Just it's tough when you're betting straight across and you guys are all used to parlays. Betting straight across is a different animal, and I hope it worked out for you doing your straight bets. I hope you get better at what you're doing, because some guys are better than others. Shout out to LB. LB was missing left and right last night. If some guys ended the night green, and they're like, Rico, I'm green. That's perfect, man. Stay green. You don't have to bet on everything. I have to pick every fight. You don't have to bet every fight. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Stay up, y'all. Peace.